Vince Cable, and I asked him why and how he was going to find the £17 billion worth of tax cuts that he was promising us all if the Liberal Democrats came to power.
The logic is very simple, that tax cut would be fully financed by raising taxes elsewhere. It's not a tax giveaway. We're not suggesting that there is possible scope in the UK economy at the moment for a general tax giveaway. So we are suggesting a whole series of measures which generally wealthy people would pay more, and we've got our mansion tax on mansions over 2 million. We've got the withdrawal of tax relief at the higher rate in terms of pension contributions on large pension pots. The capital gains tax would be aligned with earnings rates of taxation as it was in the 80s with Mrs. Thatcher. We've got some very, very specific tax avoidance loopholes which we propose to close. We're not talking generally about stopping tax avoidance, but very particular measures that should be taken, and some green taxation on aviation. And those fully fund the tax cut.
Well, let's assume that your tax cut can be fully funded and that your sums add up. But we're still left facing £167 billion of budget deficit. Where are the big ideas to reduce that? That's
the elephant in the room that I talked about this morning. And I said that what the parties have to do, and which we have done, is to identify some of the specific cuts in public spending that have to happen in order to get us towards reducing that deficit. Of course, the total sum is not the total borrowing. Some of that will come down with growth, some of it's borrowing for investment. The key element is the structural deficit, which is currently estimated about 70 billion. And if we're aiming to halve that over the next 4 years, we talk about 35. The government has already raised about 20 billion of that in tax, and we've added to that contribution specific cuts. Let me just finish. Specific cuts of 15 billion, of which 5 would be spent on key priorities, job creation and education, but there's a 10 billion specific contribution to cutting down the deficit. And that comes from where? It comes from a whole list of things which are itemised at the back of our manifesto. I mean, we're the only people to have done this, but it's... Your critics, though, are saying that some of those have already been taken account of elsewhere by other parties. For example, freezing public pay. We already heard about that in the budget from Mr Darling. You know, are there lots of your ideas that are actually copies? No, the public sector pay actually goes rather further than the government, and it's in a different form. We're talking about a 2-year approach to this problem. It's sort of £8 maximum. It's a real £8 a week maximum. It's a real cut for very high earners in the public sector. We're talking about stopping public sector bonuses altogether. So it actually goes rather further than is done elsewhere. Vince Cable, the Liberal Democrat Treasury spokesman, speaking to me a short time ago. Well, let's find out if this is enough to persuade voters. Helen Callaghan is in the village of Charlton Kings, part of the marginal Lib Dem constituency of Cheltenham, to get some reaction for us this lunchtime. Helen, over to you.
That's right, I'm in the royal busy lunchtime here in the pub near to Cheltenham, and it's a real fight here between the Lib Dems